All right, what's up, guys? This is Mark Augustine. This is a Mark Show, and on this channel, what I do is a combination of instructional videos and interviews with successful entrepreneurs. Now, this gentleman I have on the call now, his name is Brett from FBA Excel. I'll put a link to his YouTube channel in the description. Now, this is the first time we have spoke, so you're gonna get like a real kind of conversation here. I met him because Iman Los Angeles, who I interview, he's now like a regular on the channel. He said that Brett is a good guy to speak to. So Brett, what's up? Do a quick introduction. Who are you? Where are you from? How old are you? And then we'll get into the whole thing.
Yeah, what's up, Mark? First off, just thanks for having me. It's definitely good to finally meet you. I'm 30, I guess 35 now, just turned 35.
Nice.
So I'm currently living in Ohio, but we just moved from Utah. So I guess the history is I was in corporate America for, I don't know, 10, 11 years and just working 10, 12-hour days, and always really wanted to kind of go the entrepreneurial route, but never really knew exactly what I wanted to do. I definitely experimented in like eBay, Amazon arbitrage / drop shipping. I don't even know what you call it, but that's kind of where I actually came across your channel a while back. And
Okay.
it was interesting going back last night and watching some of your videos on that. I was like, man, I've seen this before. So, but moving from there, I did that, just kind of messed around for, I don't know, 6 months to a year or so, and did pretty well actually with it. And started learning about other opportunities and always wanted to try Amazon FBA. Never really went for it at that point, but I don't remember exactly the day it was. I just remember sitting in my office at one of my corporate jobs, and it was maybe like the 11th hour or something. I was like, man, this just sucks. So yeah, I came home that night and really started looking into other opportunities, and finally just pulled the trigger on an FBA product, and kind of the rest is history. So I've been doing FBA now for, let's see, not too long. I guess I really got into it maybe April of 2020. Yeah, 2020. So
Okay, so going on
it's
2
been a
years.
little year and a half, 2 years ish. So I did pretty well my first year. I think I did 350 grand in revenue, and then now I'm up to about 800. So met E-Man just from his YouTube channel, and I'm a big fan of his, and have followed him since kind of he got started. He's doing great too, and we chat a lot and just kind of strategize. But yeah, man, I love FBA. It's definitely the real deal. And if anybody's looking to get into a legitimate business, the eBay Amazon arbitrage, that was something I think for a while there it was doing well. I don't know if you're still doing it or not. I'd be curious to know. But as far as going from that to kind of FBA, it's like night and day difference as far as how you can kind of build and scale, and you're not really worried about any accounts getting shut down and things like that. So
Yeah,
it's awesome.
it's a completely different business model because so do you, first of all, do you have maybe you could share the sales with me at some point. I could add it into the video, like your
Yeah, I've got my phone here just to prove that I'm actually a seller.
yeah. Because a lot of people are like,
So you can
nice.
see I've like it's
Yeah, so you did 798 so far
yeah,
for the
so
day.
pretty good. It's been a learning opportunity for myself for sure. I don't think a lot of sellers talk about some of the hardships they face, at least on YouTube, but I've been hit with a few black hat attacks, especially this year, that really kind of put the damper on things there, especially right before Q4 when it happens at the worst time. But like I said, it's been a learning opportunity. You just got to kind of learn to roll with the punches, and when it happens, if you want to play the game, you just got to figure it out. So that's been kind of the moral of this year. But margins are still good. I was luckily in a niche that the shipping increases really didn't impact me a whole lot. So
Okay. So
yeah, man.
you mentioned about the arbitrage. So the eBay and Amazon arbitrage is more of a business model where you want to make cash. Like when I started back in the day, I had no money. So I was like, I had a couple
Good point.
$100. I was like, let me try this out. Let me make some money, right? And then
Yep.
on with FBA, you first of all, you need some money, but you're building an asset. You know what I mean? So the goal with arbitrage is just about making daily, you're making money, making $10 a day, $100 a day, $300 a day. The goal with FBA is you're building an actual long-term business. You have cash flow, and then you have an asset that you can sell at the end. So that's kind of the difference how I look at it. And now, like I'm getting to know you and getting to Iman. It's a good transition. That's something I would get into in the future. Maybe later on at the end of this year, especially talking to him. But so what was your initial investment to start this, to start the FBA? Because you're doing private label, correct?
Yeah, private label. So I know a lot of people are going to recommend $5,000 to $6,000, whatever, some 10 to 30 I'm hearing now. I'll be honest with you, I did it for less than 1,000, and it was just the experiment I did. I picked a really low price product just to see. My idea was I'm going to get my money back and kind of learn the process. So I didn't want to dump that much money into it just to kind of go that route. And I like an office niche brand that I'm running right now, and I just did a really cheap paper product just to see if it would sell. There's niches on Amazon you can still find that there's not too many sellers for specific, really, really specific niche type products. And that's kind of what I found, and sourced something, again, real cheap. I don't think I did 300 units, air shipped them over, and that's, again, all in less than $1,000. And I ended up getting over like 200% ROI on that first order. So I was able to even take some of that money, dump it into my next order. And from there, once I saw the potential, I think my follow-up order was maybe $5,000, something like that. So I launched a couple more products right off the bat after I had proved out the process. But there's definitely a learning curve there. But honestly, it's not something that is overly difficult to figure out. You just got to kind of go through the motions, and you start to learn what's the most important aspects. Like, obviously picking the product's key, images are key, copy, learning keywords is key, but there's so many other things that are just minutia in the Amazon FBA that, it's great if you have them, but you don't need them to be successful. You just got to learn that kind of 20% of the tasks and the strategies that give you, 80% of your results. And that's kind of what I've been focused on. And, you mentioned my other project, FBA Excel. That's kind of my core background, is coming from corporate America. I worked in manufacturing operations, did a lot with IT. So it came really natural for me when I started building this brand up to develop my own tools. And, PPC is really slick with Amazon. So, that's kind of how I got into build more of the tool side. And it's just, it's fun for me. It's like a video game. So it's a good time.
Right. Well, let me ask you something. You said that you spent $1,000 and made like 200% ROI. Did you have to run PPC to get that 200, or was this a product in a niche?
I had no clue what I was doing PPC wise. I think I ran an auto campaign, and maybe that was it. I honestly don't remember on the PPC side. I found a niche though that was so like uncompetitive that I think there was maybe less than 10 other sellers selling this paper product. And I kind of got in there at that point. And you didn't have to run PPC to make sales at that point. You find a lot of niches now where there's just a ton of other sellers, and the only way you're going to launch a product is run some exact campaigns where you're going to stick at the top and you can get some initial sales velocity. But when I started, I was fortunate to kind of get into a niche where you didn't have to do that.
Wow. Okay. And how difficult was it to find that niche? And do you think 2 years later is it still possible? Because a lot of people who are watching this will be like, as time goes on, I'll get more competitive, and they don't want to waste money.
Absolutely, it's still possible. I was at the point kind of where in my corporate job where I had been wanting to try FBA for the longest time. So I had a couple ideas, product wise, but honestly, my wife bought this exact product and I was like, I could probably sell that on Amazon just for a test run, see how it goes. And I just honestly, I probably spent 2 days after I decided I wanted to list it. I looked at some of the negative reviews, contacted some suppliers. I think I maybe reached out to 3 or 4 suppliers and said, what can you do as far as a sample? I had them air freight the sample, and within, I don't know, 2 weeks I had that, and just kind of went from there. So once I decided, yeah, it's game on, I just, I went for it. Like I said, 300 units. The worst case is break even, I would say, on most products, unless you buy a crap ton of inventory.
Right.
But anyway, that's how I got off to the races, man.
And do you think anyone could do this? Like, I know this is maybe a stupid question. And I know a lot of people do YouTube to share their experience and to motivate to get people in. But some of the concerns with YouTube is that people just kind of like jump and dance, and it's a show, you know what I mean? So do you think that your corporate experience helped with your success? Do you think anyone could do this? What are the core competencies you need to get into this, to get into Amazon FBA?
Yeah, you got to be willing to put in the time and realize that there is a bit of risk associated. Like I mentioned earlier, I built my business up. It was on pace to do over 7 figures, and then it took a dump because of a fraudulent copyright claim that anybody can have that happen to them. So it's something that unfortunately there's a lot of black hat things that can happen on Amazon that, again, if you want to play in the arena, you got to be willing to deal with that type of stuff and work through it. It's not like it's something that's gonna hopefully destroy your business, but you've got to have the thick skin to push through that. But if you're the type of person that is really passionate about it and really is not going to quit, that's the thing. A lot of people do start it and quit at the first kind of sign of adversity. It's not a matter of like if something's going to happen when you do Amazon, it's when. So you just got to know that going into it, and just know that it is. I've never seen a better business than Amazon FBA, and E-Man can definitely attest to that. So it's awesome. It's awesome. Like if you got into it 10 years ago, it'd be super awesome. But if you aren't getting into it now, you should start, because I've dabbled in a lot of different ones, and it's by far the most scalable. You're not handling any inventory, so it's great in that aspect. I would say don't let anybody tell you have to spend a ton of money up front. You're not going to kill it right up front if you don't do that. You're not going to make the 10 grand a month that everybody kind of pushes. It's going to be less than that, but you don't need to make that much right at first to kind of get an understanding of the process, learn the ropes. I think my first product actually I ever started with FBA, and this was back in actually 2019 when I was just kind of playing around on another account, was a diaper caddy, like a felt diaper caddy.
Right.
And my second reorder, I had no clue what I was doing, and I honestly wasn't even focusing on FBA at that point very much, but it got lost like during transit from China over to the US. It just got lost. Right. So fortunately I was using Alibaba trade assurance, and then I got reimbursed, but that kind of put a damper on things. But I did kind of get an understanding of the process at that point, and that's kind of what motivated me to keep going. And so I kind of forgot about that. That's actually the first product I ever launched. But my wife's product that she bought, that was really when I'd say I kind of went all in and really started focusing on things, because that was awesome. Back
and when
then.
when you say you need the time, how much time you're talking about? Let's say someone starts. How much time you think it on a daily basis? What's your schedule like in starting? What is your time? What does the work look like now that you run a business that's doing almost $1 million?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say a couple hours a day I do spend on it, and it's probably not. At first, when you're first getting up and going, it's definitely a couple hours a day. If you're sourcing products, optimizing your listings, running PPC, it depends kind of what your systems are and how automated your tool set is. But now, I've got a 3-year-old daughter that likes to sit on my lap all day, so it makes it really hard to really spend a whole heck of a lot of time. But it is nice once you get some organic traction on your listings, you do get some consistency built in, and you can kind of rely on that, depending on what time of year it is. If you do have a seasonal business, there can be ups and downs, but yeah, man, I'm right now probably spending a couple hours a day, and some of that too is devoted over to developing more on the tool side of things, because I've got that kind of going in parallel. But yeah, your typical tasks are going to be order and inventory. You know, PPC takes a lot of time for those that really like to get in the weeds and optimize all the different match types and whatnot. Now there are tools that can really speed that up quite a bit. So order and inventory, working with suppliers, that's kind of the pain in the butt thing where you got to stay up late depending on what time zone you're in, and
Right.
talk with those when they're in the office. But a lot of Amazon sellers have VAs too, where they'll work with them and pay them a monthly rate, and then they can kind of be more hands off. So it's just a matter of how you want to run it, how much margin you want to keep yourself. And but yeah, I'm the type of guy though that kind of likes to have my hands at least on the ball and the pulse of the business for the most part. So I haven't gone that route.
Yeah, but I think most people, I think building any business from scratch, you should have your hands on the pulse of what's going on, because then you can't control the direction where your business is going.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think there are ways too to definitely have your hand on the pulse from a higher level and still have VAs or whatever do some of the more trivial tasks that are painful at times when you're having to crunch numbers and things like that you can have them do. I know a lot of 7-figure, 8-figure sellers that definitely go that route, because it does get to be a little overwhelming when you have quite a few SKUs and you're trying to keep your supply in stock. That's by far the hardest challenge of Amazon when you have a good product one, is staying in stock and not going out of stock, because your rankings are really what makes or breaks your business as far as momentum.
And then what staying in stock, depending on how fast your sales velocity is, would affect cash flow. Yeah, so what do
you
you
focus
use?
on ROI and margin. You got to pick the right products to where you at least have to have over 100% ROI, and really you need to have quite a bit higher than that if you really want to continue to scale, unless you've got deep pockets. Because that's a really good point, and a main challenge that all Amazon FBA sellers have. You don't get paid right away a lot of times. I know they're potentially changing that, but yeah, I mean, you can go 2 weeks to even a month. Sometimes there's account reserves if you get high enough. So you've got to focus on, if you can afford a higher price point product, there's going to be more margin. It's going to cost more though to order. But then if you can focus in like the 200 to 400 is a great range for ROI. Those products are out there. You just got to find them. You got to differentiate well, and you got to be smart about it. Try to mitigate your risk. But if you can get a couple of those products, E-Man's a perfect example. He's got some great products that have strong margins, and I know he publicly on his YouTube channel goes over his products. He's got a great business, man. It's awesome.
So what? Okay,
he's a model business of what you want to do.
But why wouldn't you go over publicly what products you're selling? Because of competition?
And I do have plans to sell the brand. So for
right, that was my next question.
Buyers, yeah.
That was my next question. What's your plan? Because Iman was saying that he doesn't see himself really selling the business anytime soon. What is when you got into this, did you have a time frame you want to sell it? Did you set certain goals? Are you hitting those goals?
Yeah, I would say the setback I had in Q4 with the false copyright, and it was totally, out of my control, totally just black hat. A competitor came in and said, I'm going to try to take this guy out. He messed with the wrong guy, because he definitely didn't do it. And but yeah, that was that put a little damper on things as far as the sale. I wanted to try to honestly see if I could start one, run it for a little over a year and sell it, because I knew most people were saying like 2 years is the minimum you want to do that. I tend to try to not listen to a lot of people and just do my own thing. So that was my goal, but I'm still working on it. We'll see. That's a whole nother like arena and process that it's fun to go through. I mean, you learn a lot. But there's, brokers, different sites, different, attorneys that you got to get involved. So it's a whole nother animal.
And then what is the multiple that you sell these businesses for, generally speaking? So let's say you're doing 800,000 a year. Let's say you stuck at 800,000 a year with what's your average margin on that 800? Like how much you make on that 800,000? you think?
So right now, my margin this year was about 25%.
Okay.
It was higher last year, kind of the 6 months there, just because of shipping. I try to air freight a lot of my products just to not have to worry about the issues that they were having with the ports. So, I knew all that going in, and I, accounted for it. But I think most FBA businesses had to have taken a hit this past year just due to all the mess with the freight.
Right. And then, so you have 25% margin, like,
Yep.
so
And that's
200
after all OpEx expenses, advertising, that's bottom line. So, and that's a good margin for most FBA businesses. There are a lot of them that, especially if they're hiring a lot of VAs and whatnot, that'll be sub 20.
Right.
A lot of the ones that I've looked at are, in the 15 to 20%, but
Because Iman was saying his margins run between 15 and 20% after
yeah,
all expenses.
he might have some OpEx expenses, but I know his, top line before any of the OpEx are going to be probably 23 to, he's probably around where I'm at, the 25, I would say.
Okay.
But yeah, OpEx, I don't know what he's doing there.
And then at the sales volume you have now, let's say you have this history of $800,000 a year. What type of multiple do you sell a business at? I know it's not an exact science, but
yeah, I mean, a good deal in that range, I would say, for the products. Like, I don't have any special business. It's not. It's definitely a 7-figure business, but to get to like 8 figures with it is, I think, out of the realm unless you're running like 150 SKUs or something like that. But the businesses that I've analyzed around my size, and my size is kind of lower, especially for the aggregators and whatnot right now, but you're looking at maybe like 3.5 times plus inventory value, which business like mine, you might carry 150 grand worth to 200 grand worth of inventory. So, you can get up there 3/4 mil to a mil pretty quick.
But are you keeping that much inventory?
150 grand. Yeah, I keep
Okay.
150 grand.
Wow.
Yeah, and I've built that up. I've built that up just over reinvesting profits. So I've made this decision not to pull any money out. A lot of FBA sellers, after they start becoming profitable, will decide to pull just a little bit out. But because you have that cash flow issue, and you do have to keep, if you want to keep growing, you got to keep either buying, more, launching new SKUs, dumping
Right.
more into advertising. There's some, business decisions there you need to make.
And then, are you making enough cash flow to pay yourself before you sell the business, or is it 100%?
So that's the thing. I have decided not to pay myself.
Not at all.
Not at all. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's where, if you take so E-Man may be having, paying himself a salary that comes out of his,
Right,
that's an OpEx expense that he would pay himself. But yeah, I decided not to do that. And that's where, the other business that I've got going, I have been, paying myself a little bit there, but it's kind of been nice because they work in parallel. And you can kind of use the funds from one to fund the other type of deal and grow it.
So would you say that you said anyone could do this. So would you say this business should be more of a side hustle, I guess, and of building an asset that you
it's
can
nice.
sell? On
Yeah,
you know what I
it's
mean?
nice
Because if you can't go full time and pay yourself a salary, then that gets rid of a lot of people that can get into the business.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I would say the really successful Amazon brands that I've seen and exit, they definitely don't pay themselves within the first year because they're using that money and they keep reinvesting it into more products, growing their inventory. And then once you hit kind of, I would say 800 to 7 figures, you can make that decision to pull out a little bit if you want and still continue to grow if you made good product decisions as far as, ROI standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's something you need to, I would say, understand economics and don't make the mistake of ordering a 80% ROI product, because you'll never make enough to keep reinvesting and scale. It's just not possible mathematically.
Right. So what tools would you suggest that people use to choose products? Because if that's something that'll change the how your business runs till the end, you know what I mean? So what?
Yeah, I mean, I've never used tools to actually choose products, but I would say, helium-10 is a great option. That's what I would say most people use. Problem is everybody's using the same tool. They're going to find the same products. You
Right.
honestly just have to get in there and try to come up with a niche product that you can differentiate well and has really high quality. And I don't think you can go wrong. I would say if you go with that approach, I would say if you can pick something you're passionate about, it makes the business a lot more enjoyable. My niche is like 98% female, so it's a mess when I get in there and I have to put my marketing cap on. I'm like, man, this sucks. And you think about that. I mean, the ones that I've seen that have like the passion brand where they are their customer, those are the ones that flourish. E-Man's a great example
Right.
in that he relates to the core customer. He probably enjoys the heck out of it. So I could see him not wanting to sell just because he is having a great time with it.
So how would you, okay, but what is it mental? You seem like a pretty straight mathematical business driven human, just from the small time that we've spoken, right? So how do you make a decision to go into a niche that you're not passionate about? So
I made that mistake, honestly. I've since started another brand. That I am more passionate about. So my goal in the long term would be to sell the one I'm not and focus on the one I am. Now that I have a lot more experience there, and that's short answer. What I would say, definitely, if you pick a product you're passionate about and you're in it for the long haul. Now, if you're just in it to make money for a year, you can do what I did. I mean, pick a product that's going to make good returns, good profit margin. If you find that, and it's not the perfect niche, but it's not going to be your dream business that you're going to have for 20 years. I mean, who cares if you've got the money to fund it? It's a great business. Like I said, there's really nothing like it as far as the margins you can make. If you're making hell of a ROI, way better than the stock market.
Right.
Crypto may be the only other comparable thing, but that's so risky that I wouldn't even, that's not my advice. So anyway.
Okay, so let's switch up a little bit on the YouTube channel. Why did you start the YouTube channel, and what is your goal with the type of content that you share on your YouTube channel? So guys, those of you watching this, like the video, subscribe to the channel, check out FBA Excel. But yeah, go ahead, Brett.
Yeah, I would say the YouTube channel just kind of got started by happenstance. I basically showed some of the tools that I had developed for my Amazon FBA business to a couple buddies. They were like, man, this is awesome. Can I use it in my business? So I just posted a few training videos for them and honestly shared it with them. And then I just started seeing other people subscribe to it. So I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. And from there, I, built out the tool set and the new website, and then just started posting kind of all the training videos that go with the website on my YouTube channel for free. And then it just kind of took off from there. It's definitely more of like an advanced level data analysis type of YouTube channel. It's definitely not going to be for everybody. I don't cover much on, Amazon FBA in general. There's a lot of other way better YouTubers that are great at presenting themselves and like to spend that time and edit all the videos. That's not me. I mean, most of my videos are just going to be actually screencast videos of me actually going through the daily operations of how I run my business and the tools I use, the strategies, stuff like that. But I do have a lot of future plans for kind of going in that direction, even more so than I already have. And it just seems like it's kind of a niche in the FBA industry that there's not a lot of operators right now explaining every little step-by-step thing that they're doing in their business to be successful. And if you, like I said earlier, if you can understand kind of the 20% core tasks that you need to really kick ass on, and you do those really well, and you have good systems built to automate most of those, it makes the business itself pretty reliable, consistent, and you can pretty much control, what's going on with it. So that's what I like.
So give me some specific, you keep saying 20%. Give me some specifics. Anyone watching this will like, okay, is it 20% goal? What are these specific tasks that you would suggest?
I would say understand the economics before you buy your first product of ROI, return on investment, just so you can have enough money and you're making enough money off every sale that you're going to have enough to buy, more of that inventory and secure a small profit. the ROI and margin. So margin is going to be, the dollar amount you're making per sale. And obviously the higher your margin is, it's probably going to take more capital up front to invest. So there's going to be more risk associated with that. So you just have to kind of understand your financial position, know if you're getting into a niche that is very competitive and you could hit a home run out of the park, but then you've got to worry about funding so much inventory to keep that momentum going and that sales velocity without running out of stock, that a lot of times it's not going to be feasible for somebody that doesn't have 30 grand to go
Right.
into like supplements. You'd be an idiot to do that. You'll never compete. But if you find a niche that is like I don't know, some sewing product that nobody else is in, and you can make, $2,000 a month on that profit, that's going to be a great niche for you to get into, because it's not going to be expensive, and your PPC cost per clicks may only be 15 cents. So it's like,
Right.
that's a great strategy for somebody getting started that may not have enough funds. And then there are things like, if you truly understand keyword research, that's a gold mine. The more keywords you rank for, Amazon's a search engine. So the more keywords you rank for, the more visibility your product's going to get, the more sales velocity, the more organic rank you're going to get, and the more, it's just kind of a flywheel effect that takes over. Images, your main image is by far the most important over your other images. So if you get that right, that's super key. The main mistake I probably made is I tried to do everything myself right off the rip, and copywriting is not a main skill of mine, but that is very important to try to entice the customer once they get on your listing. When they're reading over things, you can be brand registered off the bat. That's helpful, because Amazon gives you A+ content that you can add, and it just really improves your presence and legitimacy of your listing. Those are the main things. And then obviously PPC, that's a whole nother kind of discussion, but from like a general standpoint, PPC wise, sponsored products is going to be where 80% of your sales are going to come from. So I don't even fool with the other sponsored brands, sponsored display. I mean, I do it just because I'm in the business and have been in there, but I wouldn't recommend it for somebody just getting started, because you don't need it. I grew my business to 500,000 without ever even touching that stuff. So it's
Wow.
not, it's easy by watching a bunch of YouTube videos to start getting intimidated over all the different things they're saying you got to do, because it's just not, in my experience, not true.
Wow. Okay. And so,
So,
okay. So why do you think people get why? And I bring this up because a lot of these decisions of what business people get into, and how they get overwhelmed, and um what decisions they may come from YouTube and come from influencers. But why would you say the majority of it isn't true? Just from your experience? I mean,
well, it's just, there's a lot of different advanced level strategies that you can watch videos on, and it's like, do I need to do this to be successful? And the answer for that is no. Yeah, there's some core things like I just mentioned, 5 to 10 core things that if you have all those kind of in place, then you're at least going to have a very good chance of being successful. And yeah, you can deploy those strategies later once you get that initial framework in place, but that framework's really key from the beginning to get right.
okay. And are there any products that you researched and you found profitable that you did not sell that you're willing to share?
Man, I was looking at one actually the other day, and it was like almost a carbon copy example of a completely different product in niche than I'm in, but it was actually like a glow in the dark net for a little Tykes basketball hoop. Great
Okay.
ROI on it. It would be super cheap to source, and you could just learn the process with it. And
A
yeah,
glow in the
my
dark net.
glow in the dark basketball net,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
a replacement net. Stupid. I was like, why would anybody want this? But I don't even remember how I came across it. But I was like, man, that's got to be dirt cheap. I looked it up on Alibaba, and sure enough, it was super cheap. I mean, you could air freight it over and still probably clear 200-300% ROI on it.
yeah.
So that's an example of like a really cheap product. Yeah, you're not going to be making tons of money each month right off the bat with it, but you'll learn the process. You'll at least make enough to reorder the next slot, and you can mitigate your risk that way. To where I can't remember who said it. I think it was like Miles Dunphy. He's one of the ones that I really liked when I was getting started. And he said like the more chances you have at FBA, the better. Meaning the more you mitigate your risk to where, say if shit hits the fan and the best you do is break even, or you lose a little bit, let's say, you at least have enough to try it again. Because if you're able to try it a couple times, the chances are it is going to click, it's going to come together, and you're going to figure it out. And then as soon as that light switches on, then it's game on, because you understand, what you've learned a lot, you understand what you did wrong, maybe what you need to fix. And if you're willing to keep going, then that's when it can really, really happen for you.
Wow. Okay. Okay. And okay, so let's go into the tools that you created. Can you go over some of the tools and how they work? I mean, without sharing your screen and so on.
Yeah, that's a ton of probably nerd data that people wouldn't want to hear a lot about. But the
Yeah, but there's some people who are already selling on FBA. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
This is
So
what
obviously the PPC tools, there's a system on Amazon called Bulk Operations, and it manages pretty much all of your ads through like a spreadsheet format. So by far the most popular one that I've got going right now is kind of a semi-automated bulk operations spreadsheet tool.
Okay.
And then there's also like keyword research tools. I'm getting ready to release a accounting tool that I've used in my business to just keep track of your profits, keep a profit and loss statement, kind of understand those unit economics and stuff we were talking about earlier, because again, that is super important. There's actually a couple other little PPC tools. That PPC is really a whole other discussion, because that's where I see a lot of sellers get intimidated. But if they pick a good niche that's not competitive, you don't have to understand it right off the bat. You can just run an auto campaign, and since you're not competing against 5,000 other sellers, you're not gonna be spending the $1.50 cost per clicks that a lot of those get into. That's the big mistake that I see a lot of people get into. They pick a product, it's too competitive, don't have enough money to keep their sales momentum up. The PPC kills them, and then they quit. If you can mitigate that specific issue as a really good example, then you're definitely in the right track as far as niche wise. But yeah, I mean, those are the core tools. There's another one that's kind of under the radar, that's like a metrics tracking tool that it's on the homepage now, but it's not fully released to everybody. But yeah, I mean, it's really affordable. It does a lot as far as there's a lot of other SaaS platforms out there with a lot of bells and whistles that, FBA Excel is maybe not going to be the sexiest of tools, but functionality wise, it's hard to beat, and it's really customizable. So if I'm working a lot with agencies now, they have custom features they want, we can deploy those quickly. And yeah, it's a cool space to be in for sure. There's a lot of movement. Amazon likes to release new features. They're deploying some new bulk operations features here. They've got some beta access right now, so we're in the process of kind of revamping some of our tools to accommodate that, and it's going to be pretty awesome. So
okay, nice. And what is in the FBA business, and you're building a SaaS company, what is your focus moving forward? Is it that you prefer to build out the tools, or is it that you'll keep rebuilding new brands and flipping them, or what is your long-term goal with this?
Yeah, so the brand I've got right now that's doing the 800 is, like I said, it's not a passion brand of mine. It's got some great products that are well differentiated and will do very well in the future if in the right hands. So I'm looking to offload that, sell that. And then I've started up a new brand that is more in my wheelhouse as far as passion wise, that I'm getting up and going right now. And then here for probably the next, I'd say 3 or 4 months, is going to be primarily focused on FBA Excel and just putting a good team behind that and growing out the tool set to its full range. I haven't deployed all the features yet for everybody that I'm using in my business. So I want to get it out to that point. And it's just helping a ton of people right now. So that's super exciting for me. I think we're up over 2,000 users now. If not, it's very close. So, wow. And it's only been available here for like November. So
nice. Congratulations.
Yeah. So there's definitely a whole group of sellers that have used, it's built on Google Sheets platform. And there's a whole lot of sellers that have used that platform in their business just because it's familiar with them. Again, you can customize it. And even like a lot of 7 and 8 figure sellers I've met have have built their own type of system. So, my goal is to kind of take that up a couple of notches and be able to offer a lot better automation. And it's really where my wheelhouse is. Working in corporate America, I worked in a lot of companies that really didn't have the really expensive ERP systems, and we had to
Right.
kind of fend for ourselves and put those shop floor and operations and manufacturing systems that communicated data and relayed KPIs, things like that. So it's definitely in my wheelhouse, definitely what I like to do. So it blends well though with running an Amazon brand. And I think you have to be a seller if you really want to add a lot of value into the space from a tool side of things, just because you can get disconnected really quick if you're not
Right.
actually living it. So I definitely don't plan ever, honestly, as long as FBA is a game to get out of it. Because it's just, like I said, it's a video game for me at this point, and
Yeah.
you kind of live and breathe it once you get into it.
Okay, sweet. So we started a bit late and I have another interview soon, but if you had to give one piece of advice for someone starting an FBA business, what would it be?
I'd say unit economics off the front end on your first product and differentiate your first product. It's becoming more and more important as is more competition to have a strong product. It becomes a whole lot easier if you have a well-differentiated product on everything down the line, from PPC, future sales, exiting your brand. And if you get that ROI and margin formula right from the get-go, you're not going to have you will have issues. There's always issues, but you won't have the big cash flow issue and funding issue that a lot of sellers get into trouble of having if they go sub 100%. So I'd say differentiated product, get in a non-competitive niche if you don't have the funding and a lot of capital right off the bat. And like I said, get the 20% of things right that you really need to understand to at least have a shot at scaling up. And don't worry about all the minutia right off the bat. Just get your feet under you, get a product out there. That's the other thing. Get started, try something. Don't sit on your finger and not. It's
Right.
worth it. It's worth it to try it and fail than to not do it at all, because the worst failure you're going to have is going to be likely breaking even. I've never not lost money on a product. You can always sell it on eBay, recoup your investment, and try again if you're smart about it. So yeah, man,
All right, sweet.
it's hard to beat.
And okay, and one personal question for me. I know a lot of FBA guys talk about differentiating their product, and a lot of times people will just go the simple route and try to bundle one product with another as a differentiator. That might be the simplest way to differentiate, but what other ways would you suggest by differentiating your product?
Yeah, I would say just try not to get into a commodity product that just anybody can within 2 days order the exact same thing. You want to think through it and be like, all right, because more than likely there's always going to be copycats. So
Right.
you've got to get out in front of them. And I hear a lot of people talk about like building a moat around your business. You've got to say you have a product take off. You've got to really ramp up your inventory. You can't run out of stock. There's a lot of different variables that go into that, but differentiating can be bundling multiple products that are from multiple suppliers that are harder to source. That adds a layer of complexity for the next guy. There's things, if you really have a lot of money, you can do with patents and things like that. I've not gone that route.
Right.
But yeah, short of, one thing I would not recommend when you're getting started is trying to come up with a brilliant idea that's not on Amazon right now. I've made that mistake.
Really? You've gone down that road.
What I did, I ordered 500 units of a product and it did okay. I definitely made money on it, but it didn't take off like I was hoping it would. And it just didn't take off because nobody knew to search for it. And about 3 months after, I started looking at kind of my branded keywords and I was like, man, that thing's showing up a lot. So what had happened is it did get traction. I just wasn't paying attention. And had ordered another round of it, I think it would have done a lot better. So it's just not a smart strategy, I would say, for somebody just getting started. You can lose all your, you can always resell it on some other platform, but Amazon is a search engine. There's people searching for specific things. If you don't have something very close to something already that's selling well, it's a risk that you're taking to try to launch that product. But
because those products,
But yeah, differentiate.
those type of products you're talking about are these, like, I've seen a lot of like new, potentially trending products that people would
Mhm.
market using social media or on Shopify and run paid ads too. And I've seen a lot of people try to take those type of products and do Amazon FBA. And
Gotcha.
those, so it's I understand what you're saying when you talk about products that are not on Amazon.
Yeah.
So yeah, so is it, I was talking to Iman, and I would like to have both you and him on an interview together because of the different focus, because your focus clearly is in running and the data and planning and execution and automation of the running and FBA business. And I feel like Iman is a lot more involved in like branding and the marketing side and crafting his brand and so on. So I hope I could publicly invite you to come back to the channel when Iman is on. Okay.
Absolutely.
So yeah, thank you for your time, dude. And this is, I studied mathematics, so I completely understand the direction you're coming from, and I built software before for drop shipping. But I know a lot of the viewers on YouTube come from a beginner standpoint. But I think it's very important that people like yourself that are more that produce content and share information more in the running of the business is important for the continuous success and growth of FBA businesses and new FBA businesses online. You know what I mean? Yeah,
I agree, man.
So I really appreciate you taking the time and having this call, and hopefully we could get another call soon.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, Mark.
Okay, brother. Have a good one.
See you, man.